Hello, and welcome to lesson 49 of the guitar series. In this particular lesson, we're going to conclude, at least for the moment, our pentatonic studies and verify our knowledge of it. And in a way, it's a bit of a milestone, in the same way as when we finished our major modes studies. There is a lesson now. I don't remember exactly the number. But we looked at a bunch of exercises that allowed us to kind of verify our knowledge of them. And in the same way, this is what we're doing in this particular lesson. We're going to come back to pentatonics in the future again, and look at even more advanced way we can use them. But it's good at this point to conclude our pentatonic studies, and then from the next lesson, we're going to move on to other topics. In a way, the best way to verify your fretboard knowledge of pentatonics is to study them in interval of fourths. And in this case, when I say interval of fourths, I'm referring to a chord progression as opposed to studying scales in interval of fourths, etc. I wrote a PDF, which of course you can download from Patreon, and I'll show it to you quickly. So here we have a recap exercises, major pentatonic, cycle of fourths, and as you can see, I'm referring to the chord progression. So we're playing G major pentatonic in this case, going into C major pentatonic, F major pentatonic, B flat major pentatonic, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat or F sharp, B, E major pentatonic, A major pentatonic, D major pentatonic, and of course now you're back to G after D. In this particular PDF, you will find studies of intervals of fourths all along the neck. As you can see, these are all major pentatonics. I'll show them to you on the guitar in a second. And at some point you will find the equivalent but executed with minor pentatonics in a cycle of fourths. So as you can see, you have quite a few pages to go through. For those of you that sing this for the first time in a way, when I discuss cycle of fourths, cycle of fourth as a progression, you can start from any chord on the guitar. I tend to start from G just because most of the lessons I did are based on G for whatever reason, and the logic behind is very simple, and that's why it's a very good chord progression to verify your knowledge of any specific topic that you're practicing at the moment. In this case, we're using pentatonics. It could have been a scale, it could have been an arpeggio. So if I start from a G major chord, in this case, the fourth in the G major scale, it's C. Hence the next chord is going to be C. So I'm going from G to C. And the fourth of C in C major scale is F. Hence the third chord is going to be F. The fourth in an F major scale is B flat. So G, C, F, B flat. The fourth in the B flat major scale, it's E flat. So G, C, F, B flat, E flat. Now the fourth in the E flat major scale is A flat. So from E flat, A flat. And by the way, now you can notice how I started from G. I played the 5 shapes that we discussed since lesson 1. Shape of E, shape of A, in this case I'm playing C obviously. Shape of D, in this case I'm playing F. B flat, shape of G major. E flat, shape of C. And now I'm back to A flat, back to my shape of E. And simultaneously, I'm starting to go up the neck on the guitar. Anyway, let's continue so I can explain to you even better why this is a very logical way to do it. So after A flat, the fourth in the key of A flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's D flat or C sharp. And as you can see, I'm repeating what I did before in a way. Here is where the repetition starts. And now I'm in D flat. The fourth in the D flat major scale is G flat. And here is my G flat. As you would expect, as I said, now is creating a pattern on the guitar. In fact, after G flat, I have B. And after B, I have E. And after E, the fourth in an E major scale is A. And as you can see, I moved up a semitone. So basically, every 5 shapes, everything will repeat itself in a way and move up a semitone. Now, what happens? What happens is that when I go through G, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, A, D, the fourth of D in the D major scale is G. So I'm back to G. In the process, I've been through all 12 keys. If you want, we can count them. 1. So remember, this is G, and the next G is going to be up the neck, the next shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm in E, 11, 12, D, back to G. Which means that any exercise that you perform utilizing this chord progression, so a cycle of fourths. As I said, you can start from any chord. I started in G, but it doesn't matter really. Allows us to practice things in all keys. That's the entire idea. As a matter of fact, even the cycle of fifth would do the same, just backwards, really. But I prefer personally the cycle of fourths for the reason that, as you can see, as you go through the cycle of fourths, also your hand position will move up the neck. So when you start an exercise, automatically you'll go up the neck and your exercise will end up, on the higher frets. And in a way, I think that's a good thing to do because, as the frets get smaller, you want your fingers to get used to it. So it's a good thing to say, now let's take major pentatonics and perform them in interval of fourths in terms of chords. So let's start. I'll show you. I mean, it's all in the PDF, but anyway, I'll show you what it means a little bit on the guitar. So I'm going to start from G. This is G major pentatonic. C major pentatonic. F major pentatonic. B flat major pentatonic. E flat major pentatonic. A flat major pentatonic. D flat major pentatonic. G flat major pentatonic. B major pentatonic. E major pentatonic. A major pentatonic. D major pentatonic. G major pentatonic. C major pentatonic. And I can go on and on. As you can see, my hand is slowly going up the neck. And already we played G here. And we played G here. And as you move along, you'll end up playing G here, G, and G up on the 15th fret. The PDF is designed to start on fret 3, basically, and it's going to go all the way to fret 15, if I remember well. No, 17. There you go. Okay? So you go through the 5 shapes all across the neck. Of course, you want to do that with a metronome. You decide the speed that you're comfortable with. You want to do it at a speed where you don't make too many mistakes. As you notice, it's hard sometimes for me to talk while I'm playing because it's hard for the brain to multitask in that sense. So, just do it at a speed where you feel comfortable, and slowly you can speed it up. Of course, you will soon realize that there is a pattern going on because of the 5 shape system. And then it repeats itself. And etc., etc. So, same thing will happen in terms of pattern with the 5 shapes of pentatonics. Try not to get caught into start playing this as a pattern where, of course, you're going to go faster and faster in terms of moving up the neck of the guitar, because your brain is going to get a muscle memory of the 5 shapes, and it gets kind of repeated and repeated and repeated. Because the downsides of that, on one side, great, you're going to get faster and faster and more comfortable with it, because your brain will get the idea that it's a pattern. It just keeps repeating the 5 shapes and move up a semitone. At the same time, you will stop kind of telling yourself what is it that you're actually playing. Okay, so the moment you start doing this as a muscle memory, okay, you'll find yourself up here and keep repeating the muscle motion of the 5 shapes, but you're not going to tell yourself, okay, that's F major pentatonic, or I don't know, say. If you want to know that that's F major pentatonic, if that makes any sense, or whatever, you are in C, okay, this is C major pentatonic. I'm sure the moment you understand the dynamics and the pattern dynamic of the second and fourth on the guitar when you play it this way, you'll quickly realize that there is a pattern going on. And so there is a muscle memory that you can develop without having to think that's C, that's F, whatever. It's just going to go up the neck. On one side is good, the muscle memory, of course, because it allows you to focus on your technique. That's great. On the other, be careful, because otherwise you'll end up not knowing what you're actually playing. So when you try and improvise, or when you try, to solo a little bit, you might not find the notes under your fingertips, or you will not be able to visualize them in your head. And of course, look at the guitar when you're practicing this thing, so you also develop photographic memory. That really helps. If you look at the PDF, the second part of it obviously is the equivalent of what we just did, but minor pentatonics. So in this case, the chords are G minor, C minor. By the same token, you could do this in dominant 7. In the future, we'll do it, when we've done the modes, we've done it using minor chords, dominant 7 chords, all sorts of, But in this case, of course, it's G minor, then C minor, F minor, then you have B flat minor, and E flat minor. And you're back to the 5 shapes. 1, 2, 3. I like this as a minor. It's a minor 11. That's a minor 7, and that's E minor 7. But again, if you look at only the bass notes, this is what you end up with: G, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, A, D, and you're back to G. As you can see, it's a pattern, told you. And it covers the 5 shapes and allows you to play all the chords in a very close area of the neck, so you understand that actually you can play all 12 keys within, 5 frets, pretty much. Everything is in there. So if you find yourself doing this because you cannot find a chord in the area, okay, again, the cycle of fourths in terms of studying even chords really helps you. So, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B minor, E minor, A minor, D minor, we're back to G. Again, minor pentatonics, pretty much the same thing. So you have G minor, C minor, right? F minor, B flat minor, E flat minor, sorry, B flat minor, D flat minor, A flat minor, D flat minor, G flat minor, B minor, E minor, A minor, D minor, and you're back to G, right? Of course, it helps to have maybe like you can use a backing track behind this for those of you who are advanced supporters of this Patreon project. A long time ago, I already posted backing tracks utilizing the cycle of fourths, so you can use those if you want to play, and being able to hear the harmony behind, so like a chord behind while you do the exercise. That can be a very good thing for in terms of ear training, so your ears get used to it. Another way, obviously, you can practice this cycle of fourths is to actually, once you're familiar with both major and minor, is to alternate them. So like say G major, and then G minor, C major, C minor, and so forth and so on. Okay, that also can be very good. So you hear the difference in between pentatonic major and pentatonic minor. Although the 5 shapes are still the same, as you'll notice the moment you start practicing. That's the beauty of the cage system in a way. You don't have to study too many different finger patterns. You're just moving them around. So these are very good exercises. Please do them, because the moment you find yourself not being able to find, say, A flat, G flat, that kind of stuff, you realize, okay, I know pentatonics. Probably, maybe I know a lot of A minor pentatonics, D minor, especially if you're playing blues and all those that kind of music, or rock, or do I know them all over the neck, in all shapes and forms? This kind of exercise will educate you in terms of understanding how well is your knowledge of that particular topic across the entire guitar. Do it slowly, in time, and you can it's an excellent warm-up. Once you know it, is also an excellent warm-up exercise. But I'm going to add something to this lesson. In theory, I could end it there, and then next lesson we move to a completely different topic. But I think like the studying the pentatonics in this case as an excuse is also a good moment to look further into a couple of things we can also study while we're doing these kind of exercises. So pentatonic is 2 notes per string, which means we can look into a little bit of alternate picking and a little bit of legato picking at the same time while we do those exercises. So the fact that it's 2 notes per strings, well, obviously, if I play alternate picking, I have 2 options, pretty much, that derives from, do I start with the downstroke or do I start with the upstroke? And again, you want to practice both ways. But let's say I start with the downstroke and I use a even number of notes. all the time. So, and it's 2 notes per string, but you'll see what I mean when I say even number as opposed to one number. So I can go, let's take a G minor pentatonic, and we'll just work on that. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay? Now if my descending version, so going from the highest note to the lowest note, I start again with the downstroke. So I'm gonna play you just the last 2 strings so you see the switch. So down, up, down, up, down, up. So the last note gets repeated twice. So I keep it 1, 2, 3, 4. I have an even number of notes when I change direction. If we do that, also the descending version will always start basically with a downstroke. So down, up, 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 down, up. And if again I do the same in the way back, so down, up, down, up. My picking pattern is always going to be down, up every time I change string. That's good for your brain to know, because the moment the brain gets the information, okay, every time you change string, start with a downstroke, it makes it easier for the brain to kind of compute that and make a muscle memory of your fretting end. So you can practice all these particular exercises in alternate picking using that kind of approach. So down, up, down, up, down, up. So and it's all down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down. Okay. The opposite version of this would be to start with an upstroke, and of course, again, if we keep an even number of note at the extreme of the guitar, top and bottom string, the changing strings is always going to be on an upstroke. So if I do up, down, 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 up, down. So you have 2 versions of, in this case, alternate picking approach you can give to this particular exercise. As I said, it's good that you look into this stuff too. And so we start with a downstroke, and it's always down, up, 2 notes per string. And when we have to change direction, we make sure that we have an even number of notes when we change direction. So we're playing 4 notes on every time we want to go, from ascending to descending. Down, up, 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 down, up. And also we do it starting on an upstroke. And you might wonder why, do both ways. Well, because when you're playing, you don't really want to wonder, am I using an upstroke or a downstroke? What happens if you do that, you'll end up playing patterns, repeated patterns, like, in a way, like you create licks, mental licks, especially with your fretting in. And no matter what the song, they're going to end up in there, which is normal. I mean, it's like at the end of the day, that's what we all do that. I mean, we have our own licks, or maybe, we study other people's licks, and they end up, one way or another across different songs, But in a way, if you want to try and be even more spontaneous, and, then you want your fretting end to be kind of ready for body occurrence. Of course, to do like for some people down, up, down, so starting on a downstroke every time you change string, it's a little bit more comfortable and easier than to do the same but starting on upstroke. But that really, I noticed, it changes. Some people hold their fretting hand this way with this angle, so the pick ends up at this angle, and the down, up feels sometimes more comfortable. Some people, kind of including myself in a way, I have more of an angle like this as opposed to this, so in a way I kind of tend to pick outwards, and in that case sometimes the upstrokes are kind of comfortable. Anyway, if you understand the logic of how things works, and that's what I'm hoping I'm getting across to you, is to get the logic of it as opposed to do what I'm doing. Do your thing. But if you understand the logic and you can analyze the way you're approaching the guitar, you just find an efficient way of doing things that allows you to express yourself. That's pretty much it. And the objective of this project is, is to look into the guitar and harmony and, many aspects of it. So what happens is, if instead of playing 4 notes when we're changing direction, we only use 3 notes. What I mean is, pay attention to the change of direction on the E string. So let's say I start down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, 1, 2, 3. Instead of being 1, 2, 3, 4, it's just I'm playing, in this case, the B flat only once. Now, because I'm using 3 notes now on the last string, the moment I change direction, if before everything was down, up, 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 down. Basically, also the picking changes direction. So if I start on a downstroke, and then I use 3 notes here, like anytime you change directions, pretty much. If you use an odd number of notes in that process, your picking pattern will reverse. So in this case, it's going to become down, up, 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 down, up. So in a way, if I start on a downstroke, then I use odd numbers every time I change direction. If I start on a downstroke, on the way down, it's always going to start on a downstroke. On the way up, it's always going to start on an upstroke. Oh. No, come on. Anyway, you see what happens with muscle memory. Just because I was doing it before, my brain just wanted to go there. That's muscle memory for you. When that happens, just slow it down. That's what I should have done. And the brain gets the new muscle memory, and then it's comfortable to speed it up. One more thing we can look into. So try both ways. Actually, it's 4 different ways. Down, up, even numbers at the extremes. So it's always down, up. Doesn't matter if you're descending or ascending. Down, up, and so you do down, up, and then up, down. Or even number at the extremes. And instead, when you're using odd number at the extreme, again, down, you start with the downstroke, you go basically down, and on the way up is always upstrokes, changing direction. And of course the opposite. So you start with an upstroke. Up, down, 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 down, up, down, up, down. Again, in terms of creating the muscle memory, you might want to take one of these picking patterns at a time and do the exercise, the cycle of fourths. So basically, while you are playing the cycle of fourths for the pentatonics, you're also practicing, one way of doing picking. Maybe today you just do down, up, even numbers in the extremes. Cool. And you just do the entire exercise that way. So your fretting end has got a constant pattern. Then maybe tomorrow you do the same even number in the extremes, but you start with an upstroke and then you do the entire exercise. You start slowly then. So again, your end has a very consistent picking pattern. The other thing you can look into, obviously, is also legato. So again, we have 2 notes per strings, so a very even spread at the moment. And instead of picking every single note, we can pick only the first on each string, in a way. Not quite like that, but you'll see it in a second what I mean. For those of you, I'm pretty sure that those of you that are approaching this material probably are you familiar with hammer-ons and pull-offs. Nevertheless, hammer on, you simply hammer on the next string, although you don't pick it, and pull off. In a way, this finger, in this case, is kind of striking on the string. It's a bit like he's acting a bit like a pick, right? And there's plenty of exercises and material on YouTube. If there are really like plenty of videos on hammer-ons and pull-offs. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you will want to look into those. In our case, what I'm interested in is that, say we start downstrokes, like ascending on the scale. So picking, hammer on, 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 picking, hammer on. Now, again, there is a difference if I want to give you an even number of notes on the last string, or the extremes, let's put it that way. Any change of direction. It doesn't have to be the extremes. Or not. If I want to, what's going to happen on these strings on the first and last is going to be, in this case, downstroke, hammer on, and then upstroke, pull off. It sounds like this. Down. So you hear the attack of the second note, because obviously I'm playing 4 notes here, and now I need to replay these notes, so I have to pick it. So you have something like this. And again, same approach happens on the other side. Obviously, say in my case, that's my preference when I'm descending in the scale. So when I'm going from the highest note to the lowest note, I tend to use upstrokes. As I said, the angle on my hand tend to pick this way. So I tend to follow the direction kind of. But the beauty of legato, at least on a very basic level, is that allows time for your fretting end to move across strings. What I mean is, in between you doing this and the hammer on, your end has got time to move to the next string. So it's an efficient way for your fretting end to move across strings. And of course, from a stylistic point of view, is also interesting because you don't hear the attack of the pick on every single note. If you listen to people like Alan Ashworth, for example, Joseph Triani, Kurt Rosenwinkel kind of took this, recently at least, quite an extreme path in terms of literally removing the sound of the attack of the pick. So this kind of sound is different than what you hear every single kind of thing. So yeah, basically you want to do that kind of exercise, and as I said, when you're descending, you could even just do downstrokes if you wanted to. As I say, the legato, the fact that you're hammering on and pulling off, kind of gives you time to move your hand, that way. Of course, you could even do it all lap strokes. Again, in time, I'm sure you will find what works for you in terms of your fretting end. Again, we have the possibility, instead of playing even numbers when we change direction, to play odd numbers. So again, it's just simply, instead of, and that makes our job even a little bit easier to some extent. So I mean, we're gonna come back to this kind of stuff, but I just wanted to throw it out there in terms of, since you're practicing 2 notes per string, and it can be good that while you do that, you use some specific picking patterns that you might wanna look into. That's So in this case, we can look at the alternate picking everything. We can do a legato, hammer-on and pull-ups. I said pick one. So say today I'm going to do legato. I'm going to start on a downstroke. I'm going to use even number at the extremes, and do the entire exercise that way. So that's going to give your hand time to learn that, and you don't even realize that you're learning that. But because it's a pattern, it creates a muscle memory. It doesn't take long. I think that's enough for this lesson. I mean, as you know, my lessons are in this project I have it 3 weeks, and I think 3 weeks is an excellent 3-4 weeks. It's a good amount of time for you not only to understand something, because to understand this is going to literally take you 5 minutes, 10, okay? To understand what I just talked about should not be. I mean, hopefully I'm explaining it to you in such a simple way that is, from a logical point of view, you get it. But to make it, to put it on the guitar, 2-3 weeks, it doesn't happen quicker. I should have done it at the beginning of the video. For those that know me, I'm not exactly like what you would describe as a marketing guy, a salesman. My bad. The lessons are. I want to thank the patrons which are supporting this project. I noticed. I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube, but I noticed some people doing kind of similar stuff. I don't know. Maybe not as in details. I think they have hundreds, millions of views stuff, but here is a lick of the song kind of stuff. So as you can see, instead, this project has got a very different nature. So thank you for the few patrons that are supporting this project. They kind of make me feel like keep going, even if it's, at this stage I'm not sure it's a very successful project, but I guess it doesn't matter. And if you have any question, just you can send me a message on Patreon, obviously, or you can leave a comment. Then there is the subscribe part, the notification bell, all those kind of things that people keep shouting about. I hope you enjoyed a good August month. Maybe you got a break, like a holiday or something, and enjoy playing. And until next time, bye.